Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we're going to talk about new grading companies. This is by far one of the most frequent questions I'm receiving right now. What do you think about all these new startups that are popping up like one a week at this point? I'm going to get right to it for people with a short attention span. Most of these companies will fail. Now, some will be better than others, but statistically speaking, majority will not survive, and we're going to talk about why. Starting with the fact that the need is temporary. There's a temporary opportunity right now due to the larger companies having a backlog, so you could come in and undercut the price, provide a quicker turnaround time. But what we've learned from other businesses who have already pivoted, and we're also heavily critical of PSA's backlog, they also now have a backlog because turnaround times are based on demand. It's not really a innovative long-term business plan that has any type of guarantee. If you have a demand shift or an uptick, those turnaround times go out the window. So therefore, you have this short-term moment right now that's great if you're a startup company to come in and, get some of that market share. But once that backlog clears, you really need something innovative to stand the test of time. You really need to develop a reputation because that's what it's all about. That's what keeps you from turning in to one of the nameless three-letter defunct. I've seen every single alphabet at this point: SAG, ASS, SMP, DN1. I found this guy in storage. MGA grading. Somehow this is a 10 Gem Mint Machamp, but every part of the card has whitening on the back. Like, this thing looks like a 10-30 record of fighting Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. He's got bruises and scars all over his back. That wouldn't go higher than like a PSA 6. And it's a great example. It's a poster child of a failed company that didn't provide anything innovative. They didn't develop a reputation. They weren't consistent. They just did the bare bones of putting cardboard into plastic, throwing three letters there and a number on it, typically a 10, and they were a flash in the pan, like some of these companies will be. So one of the tough things I think right now for a consumer, especially in relation to all these new companies, is there's so much hot air. There's so much noise. There's so many open mouth YouTubers just exhausting hot air out there into the ecosystem, into the space of collectibles. Without fail, every week I get an email from a new AI blockchain startup, nanotech, vertical integration, crypto NFT back grading company. Like Wednesday at 2 o'clock, it just hits. I don't know if it's the same bot doing Control C, Control V, but I get this same corporate confident, jargon-filled email. The bottom line is this stuff is just unproven. It's a dime a dozen right now. Everybody and their dog is trying to brand. Everybody and their dog is trying to do the same thing. There's a lot of opportunity and chaos right now that's happening. So it's tough for a consumer to know, which one of these new companies is going to stand the test of time. One of the things I wanted to talk about in the idea of hot air is, because there's so much growth, one of the costs of growth is all this like strategic advertisement, sponsorships and things like that. It's one thing when you're sponsored by like NordVPN or $5 Shave Club, but when hobby related things and companies are trying to sponsor channels and they're paying for an opinion, it's tough as a consumer to know what's fact, what's real and what's fiction. Especially when, these ad rates might have like a 3 month, 6 months, year umbrella or contract. When that expires and that blue check mark YouTuber moves on to the next ad deal, what's that company going to do, a year, 2, 3 years down the road after it's not trendy anymore? When they go back to NordVPN as their sponsorship, what's going to happen at that point? And that's what you have to consider. If you made it past the no attention span part of this video and you're still here, this is where we get into the good conversation about why you grade a card. What is the value of grading? How you determine value? Why does everybody understand that this MGA 10 is not going to earn the same price as a PSA 10 Machamp? How come that we understand that immediately? Grading is about one thing. It's all about reputation. More specifically, when you're grading a card, it's about maximizing value. I don't care if you're the truest, purest collector. You read Goodnight Moon every night to Pikachu before you tuck him into a new sleeve every night under your pillow. I don't care if you're the truest collector ever. You're going to sell something at some point, whether it's to buy another card, buy a house, your life's going in a different direction, you need to buy a car, something comes up. You will sell at some point, statistically speaking. Therefore, you want to maximize value. And maximizing value is all about that long-term reputation. So, going back to the backlog, a good way to understand this is the short-term cost of having your cards graded with PSA and being in the backlog is rectified by the long-term value of when that card comes out. It's encapsulated with a company that's been around 2 decades plus and is the leader in grading Pokemon cards. It has the most data, the most inertia, everything. So therefore, that's your obvious opportunity cost. Now with these new companies, you get the card back fast. And if you need to liquidate and your paper hands can't hold it anymore, you got it. You can do that as much as you can. Let your paper wrists flow in the wind as they do. So that's the opportunity cost. The short term is great, but long term is unknown. What's the long term value of the new 3-letter company that just popped up with the new AI, blockchain, vertical integration, nanotech, NFT technology? What's that long term outlook going to be? Now, I'm not saying that all of them are going to fail. There's going to be some that probably will stand the test of time, but it's just unknown. And that is the risk you face now as a consumer, as a new grader, is going into that and thinking about, these people talking about it and really excited about it. Are they paid to do it? Do they have a stake in the company? I'm a channel that denies all sponsorship. I've had every company come to me, just like Rudy. You name the company, you name the 3 letters, they've given me an offer, and they've all been denied because you lose that objectivity, That's the problem. Now, if coconut water came through, that'd be a different deal. That'd be a different one. That'd be like if Pokey Chloe showed up at the door. We'd have a problem. So anyway, the point is that it's really tough to know as a new collector, what's fact and fiction right now. There's a lot of opportunity and chaos. And again, some of these companies will probably survive. I think another way to look at this is that if you have something truly innovative, it might be acquired. The gap between the big players out there and these new companies is like a blue whale and a sperm whale. It's like a plankton. It's like mitochondria. Like the gap is so wide. Like these companies now are acquiring the other big players. Like the WADA acquisition is a perfect example. WADA is one of the top video game grading companies, and they were acquired. So if you are doing something innovative as a new company, there's a chance you will have, an acquisition offer. I think you'll see more of that, and I think that'll be a sign that, one of these companies is doing something right. And that's probably what you'll see more of, down the road. Come back to this video a few years from now, see if that's true. But one thing I can guarantee is when you do come back to this video a few years from now, a lot of these companies that you hear about, that you see on social media or whatever, a lot of them will just be dust in the wind. There'll be a fart in the air. That's what they'll be, because we've been here before. The patterns are stronger than emotion. Patterns in markets are the most important things. Here's another example of BCCG. I forgot Mike Madonna was like, hey, let me get some airtime here. This BCCG Mike Madonna rookie back here was graded by Beckett. This is when they had this weird, I don't even know what to call it, like this subsidiary grading company. Everybody knew back in the day that 10 was worthless. That's probably a PSA 7 or PSA 8 at most. And that, again, is a good example of reputation value added. That went by the wayside because too many people were like, yeah, that's not a real 10. You cross over to PSA, it's a -2. There's a Canadian grading company I use for hockey. When I cross it to PSA, I know it's going to be a -2. So therefore, their 9 or 8 or whatever is not parallel to PSAs, and the market understands that. So the bottom line is that developing a reputation takes time. It takes time, consistency, effort. It's not easy. Now this stuff is easy. We're all competing with one another. All these companies are competing. It's not a cakewalk. You're all coming in here trying to grab market share, trying to take some of that opportunity, trying to carpe diem, seize the magic carp. That's what it's all about. And it's very competitive. And again, going back to the patterns, how we've been here before, 90s had a similar thing that happened. I've had so many defunct grading companies. Like if I had to put a number on the amount of defunct grading companies, it's easily in the 20s, easily. I can think of at least 20 labels I've seen over the years of companies that don't exist anymore, and that's just the law of the land. Like you have these companies that come in, they think they can do it better. Some do something that might be innovative, but most don't. And that's just, again, the law of averages. It's nothing personal. I'm always in that camp where I want to see people succeed. I'm all about that entrepreneur lifestyle and, trying to make your own and effort and strategic risk and all that. But the bottom line is if you don't develop reputation, there's too much force. That's the last thing I want to throw out there. If your company is based on how strategically you're advertising and who you're getting into and things like that, in my opinion, that's a lot of hot air. It's a lot of force rather than the fundamentals of, who are you hiring? I can go to E4 right now and just pick at least 20. If I had to start a grading company, I know off the top of my head, with 20 people on E4, I would hire them. We'd be good to go. It's all about that. It's all about who are you hiring? What's the consistency like? That value added is the true metric. Anybody can say anything at this point. It takes no effort to make videos. I mean, look at me. I'm the biggest boomer ever. I don't even know how to edit, and I'm out here talking. Like, anybody can make a video. Anybody can say anything. You shouldn't base your choice for your card and how you encapsulate on that. You know, the proven companies are the ones that in the short term, yeah, you don't have the time. That's your cost, but long term, you get the value add and reputation. Where these new companies, it's the opposite. The short term is the gain of getting your card back, but the long term is what's the value going to be? You know, there's going to be a lot of these mod champs right here that you'll be looking at 3 years from now and be like, oh yeah, I remember when like whatever it is, like XYZ grading was happening, or SAG, ASS grading was happening. Like, there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of that stuff. So there you go. That's my video on new grading. Hopefully it was useful. And just trying to end on a positive note that, you know, I want to see people succeed in hobbies and collectibles, but it is a tough road. It's an uphill battle. Inertia is really tough to compete against. And, you know, reputation is the only thing that's going to carve out a niche. You know, that's really the focus you used to have as a new company, is trying to carve out a niche. I think that's how you're going to survive, grading different types of companies, grading different regions. You know, that's really the only way, in my opinion, that you can stand the test of time, is by doing something unique. So hopefully we see that. Hopefully we see some innovation through all the buzzwords of nanotech, NFT backed, and creating all that stuff. So yeah, it's very exciting times right now. A lot of chaos, a lot of opportunity, a lot of memes going on. So there it is, guys. That's what I have for grading. You know, deal. Let me know how I feel. That's pretty much it. Till next time.